youth by the name of Gail Nichols has suffered from depression for many years. Many nights, this causes her sleeping troubles, and she will play a video game called Bejeweled to help her fall asleep. Bejeweled is a game where you arrange gems of various colors, one space at a time, into rows of 3 or more jewels of the same color. Eventually, she is able to sleep, but she says that the game has become more than a simple sleep aid. She says that it distracts her from her troubling thoughts so well, it's become the only way she's been able to make it from day to day. She is not the only person who has been helped by video games. Video games are beneficial to the mental health and abilities of their players. There are several ways in which the games help these players. First, video games help relieve symptoms of stress and depression in their players. Second, video games train their player to develop different parts of their brains. And third, video games improve various mental qualities of their players. First, video games help their players relieve symptoms of depression and reduce stress. In 2009, the Washington Post interviewed several companies and researchers to see how and why video games help in this way. The company PopCap, which made Bejeweled, commissioned a study that monitored volunteers who regularly played Bejeweled and volunteers who didn't play video games at all. The gaming volunteers showed significantly increased mood and steadier heart rates than the non-gaming volunteers, and then that steady heart rate is a sign of stress. The study was based on the idea that depression and stress are created from our own thoughts of self-doubt and worry, which quickly spiral into a very negative train of thought. Video games help distract their players from these thoughts and instead offer distraction in a completely different area of focus. The head researcher of this study, Carmen Rusoniello, said that playing certain video games offers just enough mental challenge to keep such people occupied while putting them into a state of relative mindlessness. The longer you play, the further you're taken from your depressing thoughts, and the better you'll feel. The Miami Times also reviewed video games' effects on depression in 2011. Researchers at the East Carolina University found that patients who played games, including Bejeweled, reduced their symptoms of depression by more than half. PopCap also commissioned this study. This is the first study to truly measure how effective video games are for relieving depression, anxiety, and stress. In fact, the study proved that all aspects of mood were dramatically raised after playing video games. This effect lasts for various lengths of time, anywhere from 30 minutes after playing to an entire month after playing. Rusiniello claims that these findings support the possibility of using prescribed casual video games for treating depression and anxiety as an adjunct to, or perhaps even a replacement for, standard therapies, including medication. He believes that video games are so effective at relieving depression symptoms, they could possibly replace medication. These tests show just how powerful the effects of video games are at soothing the mind. As well as improving the mental health of their players, video games also condition the players to use different parts of their brain, which develops them. Inexperienced video game players use the side of their brain, which controls hand-eye coordination. Experienced players hardly use this part and instead rely on the front of their brain, which is involved in higher-level decision-making. Consequently, video games expand our brains and our levels of thinking, freeing our need to rely on a single lobe, a single way to approach a problem. Italian researchers believe that training the brain to regularly use different parts of itself in this way could possibly help Alzheimer's patients. Refocusing their brains could help them rely on different parts to move and interact with objects. And lastly, hand in hand with the idea of expanding our mental flexibility, video games help sharpen various mental qualities of their players. First, video games help improve the decision-making abilities of their players. In 2010, cognitive scientists from the University of Rochester asked 18 to 25-year-old boys to play either a slow-paced game like The Sims or a fast-paced game like Call of Duty. The boys who played the fast-paced games consistently answered problem-solving questions 25% faster than the slow-paced players, and their own results prior to the study. This study supports the idea that video games train us to use more of our brains, as the front, higher-level decision-making part is trained by video games, and the study here reflects the results. Video games also develop the attentiveness of their players, especially children. Cyber Learning Technology in San Diego developed a game that helped children with attention problems. They hooked children up to a sensory helmet that monitored their brain activity as they played. The more focused the children were when they played, the better their chances of winning were. Playing this game regularly helped these children significantly improve their ability to pay attention. Now you know how video games calm us out of stress states of mind and depressing thoughts, how they help expand our brains and approach problems in multiple ways, and how Video games help us make hard decisions faster, how they tighten our focus on the topic that is at hand. In short, video games improve our mental health and hone our mental abilities.
All right, I like the opening with the example. You do state your claim pretty clearly. I do think you want to highlight it a little bit, but I knew what it was right away when you said it. Don't be shy about saying, so the claim that I'm going to be arguing for, the proposition is this. One of the other ways that I knew immediately what it was is that you did do an excellent job previewing what the supporting points were going to be. So they were laid out very clearly. I knew what came before that is really what's supposed to be the basis of the argument. So it's easy to pick out. Like I said, the preview was excellent, and your internal signposting was really solid, especially on the first and the last point. The middle point, I think I know where it was. You didn't use a numerical signpost on it, and I'm not sure that you have to, but your transition needed to be a little bit clearer. I thought that you did a very good job citing expert testimony. You gave qualifications on all the experts. You described that material quite a bit. I do think because you're so dependent on all the expert testimony, though, that you have a tendency to read a lot more, and as a consequence, you're not engaging the audience as much as you might otherwise. Like I said, it was well organized. I thought that the proof on each of your points was pretty solid and convincing. I'm not exactly sure that based on the amount of research that's been done so far that we ought to be jumped to the conclusion that we can replace medications with the particular games. But you did have the one expert who really feels that it's quite promising, so I thought that was effective. So, and I like at the end that you had a good summary of what your argument was, and you left us with a pretty clear point of view. Here's what the proposition was all about. Here's what we're supposed to be doing. All right, thank you.